Yeah, they also this freaking teleprompter today. Lera, why did you go to Luxembourg? This freaking energy conference, I cannot. Hello everyone, and welcome to The Middle Ground. Hello everyone, welcome to The Middle Ground. My name is Victoria and I'm your host for today's episode. Our guest today is someone who is very well known in Brussels for everyone who works in communication, storytelling. An Irishman, a strategist, a dad of 2 kids, a serial multitasker and an entrepreneur, Tom Moylan. I'm sure his name will speak to so many of you. As a long-time resident of Brussels, Tom has been one of the most active advocates for bridging the gap between Belgians living in Brussels and all of us expats who have been so kindly hosted by this city. Tom has been encouraging more civic participation and inclusivity in a city that is meant to serve everyone. Known by a lot of people in Brussels and liked by everyone, Tom is here today kindly to speak about his journey to the middle ground. Welcome, Tom, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for the exceedingly kind introduction, Victoria. I would simply challenge you on the fact that I'm liked by everyone. I can name at least 5 or 6 people off the bat that have no time for me whatsoever. But that's fine.
I'm sure you're just being humble because one of my first memories in Brussels when I moved here 5 years ago was discovering your communications blog and your Twitter, Irishman in Brussels. And throughout many years, you have worked in all of the possible institutions, organizations. You've been a freelancer, you worked with the commission, and now you have your own communications agency, Moylan Communications. What made you realize that it's time to stop working for others and set up something of your own?
That is a tricky question because I think it gives me too much agency in the situation. I think life made that decision for me a little bit. It was something in the background of in my head that maybe someday I would do something like this, but it wasn't a given. I've talked to people who say, oh, it's always been, it's on everyone's bucket list to start a company. It was never really on my bucket list. I thought I would write a book or become a professor or something like that. But I think at some point I decided I wanted to have a little more control over my own hours, my own life, the decisions I was making. And that was what led me to there. Like in a very practical sense. What it was after I left the commission, where I was there more or less a decade, I took a little time to reflect. I did some teaching, I did some research, and I welcomed my first child to the world. I spent a bit of time with my son, and during that time, where I was taking some time to, breathe, people kept coming to me and saying, oh, will you start this project with us? Will you start that project? And in the beginning I said, no. I'm taking some time at the moment. But then gradually I just started saying, can you wait until September? And after a few rounds of can you wait until September, enough people said yes, that I said, okay, I'll open a company starting that September. And I did, and it meant I started with a pretty nice client book of some old contacts and friends off the bat. And
you yourself are one of the most popular Irishmen in this city.
I know some Irishmen who would be deeply annoyed by that statement.
Please appear in the comments and present yourselves. I really am fascinated by the way culture impacts the way people work. And I see it every day in my work. And I wanted to ask you, how does your Irishness helped you, or actually not helped you, do what you're doing right now? Did you carry any interesting cultural aspects of where you come from in your work?
Okay. I'll tell you one way my Irishness helped me and one way my Irishness did not help me. One way it helped me is I think Irish people are naturally warm and open and friendly, and to a certain degree informal to the point of disarming, if that makes sense. You kind of walk into a room and immediately like to warm it up and get to know people. And it's one of my favorite things about Irish people. And it's one of my favorite things about going back to Ireland is kind of turning around to someone on the street and being able to have like a little chit chat, and it's super normal, which is not necessarily the case here. And that, I think, in building that trust I was talking about can be really important. To work together with people in a collaborative way, to be able to warm to people quickly and say, look, we're all on the same side. We're all going to try and achieve something here. That said, it's a double-edged sword. And one way that's worked against me is sometimes I have gotten a little too informal too quickly, or with the wrong people. And there are certain cultural contexts where my informality has gone down quite badly. It's made people feel anything ranging from uncomfortable to slightly annoyed. And it is what it is, though. That's culture. Yeah.
Absolutely. I understand that because also I'm coming from Armenia, so we are also very naturally warm people. And sometimes, of course, it's people are very different. And I think we learn in Brussels not to be surprised by anything, because if you just give it a bit of thought, you can maybe link it to the culture or the person, but culture helps you understand and decode a lot of behavioral patterns that we see around in the city. And I think one big aspect of that is the cultural clash between Belgium and the expat Belgium, or Brussels, as we keep on saying, or the EU bubble. And you have been one of the first people who took this concept of divide to the public discourse and in the media, and you spoke about it. You had your own project, Restless Brussels, I think 2 years ago, please correct me, that was meant to bridge this divide. It was right before the municipal elections in Brussels. And first, I want to hear from you. How did you come to this point where you felt like it was necessary to create such a project? And do you feel like in the past 2 years, you managed to change a little bit of a perspective of locals and expats on the way we interact with each other?
Where it actually came from, where this whole desire to become engaged in the city actually came from originally, was simply I wanted to get involved in my neighborhood. It was no grand plan. There was no grand strategy to it. I wanted to impact some of the decisions in my neighborhood. So the first thing I did was get involved with a couple of civil society organizations in my neighborhood. And we're lucky that Brussels has some really rich civil society organizations, some really kind of a great tradition of civil society kind of activism. And so after I became involved in some stuff in particular around road safety and mobility campaigning, I began to make friends in the city, and I began to have such a good experience of even being able to go around in my neighborhood and knowing people, and going to neighborhood meetings, which is like, for me, having been parachuted in from abroad and coming from Ireland, where I would know everyone in my neighborhood, and then suddenly starting to get to know people in my Brussels neighborhood, it was really special and a nice experience for me. I thought, this was great. How can I get other people to have this experience too?
Why would you say expats still prefer to stay in the sidelines of the local life and decision making and like even local politics?
I think there are 3 reasons that people don't necessarily get involved in the city. I think the first is, like at the very fundamental level, linguistic. And that's not to say that people aren't confident in their French or their Dutch, whatever they're engaging in, to get involved in the city. But it's one thing to be engaging it in your familiar environment, and it's another to get involved in extremely emotive local political issues. Then at another level, there's an acknowledgement that we might not have context, right? Because Brussels is a very complex place to live. It's got a lot of, and especially in neighborhoods, these are things that are so important to communities and neighborhoods that maybe we've just moved into. And I think it's actually a good instinct to be a little delicate around that and to approach gently, but that just shouldn't hold us back entirely. We're as much a part of the city as anybody else. And I think that's important to recognize. But I think that the last and arguably one of the biggest barriers to people getting involved in the city is a kind of a general fatigue with politics and engagement, because so many people from our bubble, from our European focused bubble in Brussels, spend so much of their days on politics and policy to begin with. That all said, I found that when you served people up the opportunity, when you created an environment to come and get engaged and learn and be curious and connect with others as well.
So we encourage everybody. Tom, you can encourage everyone to still...
I'm looking at you, everybody. Get out there, get involved, because it's not just good for the city, it's good for you. You will have a good time, I promise. You'll get very frustrated, but you'll have a good time kind of on aggregate. I think I also have this element that I can finally feel at home here a little bit, because I am very much Irish. I feel very Irish, but I spent most of my adult life living out of Ireland. I lived in Spain for a while, and now I've lived here for quite a long time. And after quite a long period away, and before that point, I had been in Ireland my whole life. I all of my youth, all of my education took place in Ireland, and so for me, I do feel very rooted as an Irish person. But gradually, over the years away, I feel I picked up other things, and I have felt a little bit different. I picked up other kind of cultural qualities from different places I've been in that have resonated with me. And somehow I find that even when I go home, and I love going home and I love seeing people, but even when I go home, I don't feel as connected to there as I once did. I maybe don't feel as easily, maybe it's because I relate to a period of time more than to an actual place. And
that is such a nuanced way to putting it, because when people ask me about Armenia, and I share my thoughts, and some Armenians around me who actually live there right now look at me like this weirdly, and like, what do you mean? It's not like that anymore. Like, no, I remember that, and I haven't seen how the city has evolved in the past 7 years. So you are somehow, as someone who leaves your home, stuck in a certain period of time. It's not necessarily a place. It's really your youth, your adolescence, and to let that perception and that feeling go and really see what there is now. It's a very difficult exercise.
Really is. And I mean, I think Brussels is an excellent place to do it.
I want to go back to Moylan Communications, the agency that you have, because being an entrepreneur means being also a leader of people. It's good that you mentioned that Moylan Communication is a very flexible workplace, because you yourself are not only an entrepreneur, but you're also dad of 2 very young kids. Very often there is this discussion in Brussels, debate about offices being a bit more, needing to be a bit more kid friendly, and for that to give an opportunity for more equal parenting. Do you think that it's okay to bring kids to the offices? And where is the line between accommodation and flexibility and professionalism and productivity?
So I try to build it. So this comes from a really selfish place. So I set up my company and I had 2 kids. And so I built a company that accommodated someone with 2 kids. But I extend that to everybody. And it doesn't just go for people who have kids, right? It needs to go for people who just want work-life balance at large, or people who have other priorities or need to support anyone else who isn't their kids. Like, there's a fact that life comes into conflict with work, and that the weird, rigid structures of the workplaces we have, especially in Brussels, which I think is slightly more conservative even than other countries, like they conflict with what it means to be a human. I am going to work really hard and deliver quality. I will do that after I drop off my kid to school at 8:30, and I will do that until I pick up my kid from school at 3:30, and then I will continue doing that after bedtime. And that suits me just fine. And like I was saying, this is also why I need to build a workplace with high trust. And I need to work with people who seek that flexibility and want to deliver, because in delivering in that kind of high trust environment, they make a gain too. They get that flexibility too. I also think that it's a good thing to extend, obviously, beyond just kids, because lots of people work in lots of different ways. I mean, I wasn't allowed to say it when I worked at the commission, but I used to write speeches for a commissioner. And the number of speeches that I would write in the middle of the night, because that's when my brain was firing off, that was just what it was. And then during the day, what I'd do is I'd gather information. I'd meet people, I'd chat, I'd let the stew bubble a little bit. But I needed to get it to a certain point to trigger creativity and productivity. And I think building a workplace that acknowledges those different working styles, but also that those different life pressures, is incredibly important. I don't know, honestly, if it can be applied across every single organization, but what I do know is that I have been slowly but surely gathering a group of people around me for whom it works and who buy into the idea.
Tom, in between your many lives lived in Brussels, you have created a podcast for the European Commission called Trade Off 2 years ago. And I want to ask you about what are the things that you are trading off to have a life and the work that you do?
I think between my work and my life and all of my responsibilities, frankly, I've traded off that like kind of aloof, lazy, kind of happy-go-lucky Tom. Like Tom doesn't exist as a Tom anymore. It's either Tom working, or Tom family, or Tom in the neighborhood, or a few like other things. But I also recognize that as a bit of a temporary phenomenon. Because someday I would like to just be Tom again.
You will become an empty nester, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then you're like, back to myself.
Yeah, no, but I'd like to think that maybe I can achieve something a little bit before then.
I know that you also traded off your passion for reading for probably reading to your kids or to your clients.
That's exactly the two things I do.
Our former guest, Georgia Murad Brooks, left a question for you. As per our tradition, she asked, who is your favorite feminist icon?
Am I allowed to answer real cheesy? Like,
it's a free world. You have free will.
I think my wife is actually really good at this, because she's really proactive and practical, and I admire the way that she brings people together, and the way that she builds community that is rooted in feminism, but is also like very mindful of kind of diversity and platforming voices that wouldn't otherwise be heard. And it's really impressive. She manages, she started, her name is Christina Wonder. She manages a network called Idealists Quarterly. And what she's done with it is really cool.
What would be your question to our next guest?
What do you believe to be true that you cannot prove?
Oh, that's a very cool one. Oh my God. I'm looking forward to our next guest answering that. And meanwhile, Tom, as per our tradition, I want to ask you, how do you find your middle ground?
I find my middle ground in lots of tiny moments throughout the day. I actively choose moments that are just for me. And sometimes it's my little coffee in the morning when I'm at an Italian cafe just off Schumann, before I dive into the mill of the day. And it's just about me and an espresso and this really shameful chocolate croissant I can't get enough of. Other times it's literally being on a train and I just put down my phone and I look around me. And it's just literally trying to, because I don't feel like I get a tremendous amount of peace. I do love those teeny little moments I can carve out just for me and try and notice them. And it actually does bring me a lot of peace ultimately.
I'm going to clap first. Tom Moylan, time for rapid fire questions. What's the one non-EU place you go to feel like you're escaping the bubble?
Atine, you know the bar?
Yes, it's a very nice place.
It feels a lot cooler than a place I should be in. You know what I mean? Like going out on an afternoon where there's all the really cool theater students from the place across the road just hanging out and having drinks. Man, I feel like I'm in a different world.
We had a lot of fantastic evenings with my former colleagues there. Shout out to you guys. One Belgian dish everyone should try.
Oh, do you know what's embarrassing? That took me a very long time to try, but I never had a waffle.
What do you mean it took you a long time to try?
It took me like 10 years.
No!
Yeah.
There's no way.
And I was like, oh yeah, I get it. It took me 10 years to try a waffle.
Oh my God.
And it was just like, I just simply didn't try. I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it at some point. And then not maybe like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, can confirm, pretty good.
Waffle is my favorite snack in between opera intermissions, the breaks. Every time I go to O2 Monet, I know that my 40-minute intermission, I need to stand in the queue for a waffle in the Brucker.
That's a very funny way to spend your time in opera intermissions. Do you like bring them back in?
the waffles?
Yeah.
Oh, they are very quickly. They don't survive till the break is over. If you could redesign one part of the Brussels experience to make life easier here, what would that be?
I would make every single person who came and landed in Brussels get involved in one aspect of their neighborhood. Do one nice little thing and make them feel a little bit more a part of the city.
If Brussels was an animal, what kind of animal would that be?
A fox.
Huh. Why?
Subtle, slightly dirty, but beautiful, ultimately.
Yeah, makes sense. What is the best cultural institution in Brussels?
I would say do you know what, more for what it represents, but there's the Elsenhof, which is the Flemish community centre in Excel, and it's just so cool that is available, that such a beautiful space is available for people to kind of hold events and do things and build things. I just think and there's a whole network of them around the city, but Elsenhof is the one I've had exposure to, and I just have always thought, isn't that a beautiful resource?
Oh, that's fantastic. I've been only the Flemish Theatre, but not the Cultural Center. Gotta check it out. What's your guilty pleasure? This is becoming more like an interview, a second round
Guilty
rapid
pleasure.
fire.
I don't think I'm guilty about any of my pleasures, to be fair. I think it is YouTube while I'm taking a bath. It is my feet up and I'm watching some really nerdy video about the economy or some sort of like something ridiculous, and I am just floating and existing.
Just a rabbit hole time.
Letting that algorithm serve me up whatever's going, radicalizing me. You know.
And which commissioner would you like to be stuck in the lift with?
Do you know what? I have a bone to pick with Valdis Dombrovskis, who once killed me in a game of werewolves We played. Do you know
Le
werewolves?
Loup-garou?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We played werewolves in France while doing a French course years and years ago, and he identified me because he's a canny political operator. He identified me as the person who knew all the rules early on and killed me immediately. And then afterwards, he told me it was because he identified me as the person who knew all the rules, and I was like, "That's smart." And I've been looking for my second shot, and I haven't found it yet, but I'll get there. So if I was in the lift, I'd get him.
Revenge on Valdez Dombrovskis.
Yeah. No, I love you,
And,
buddy. It's fine.
and last question, what is the first place you take your friends and family from everywhere else to prove that Brussels is cool?
I take them around. I take them around. I have like a weird little tour that I give people around what I call kind of alley bars in the center of Brussels. And there are all these little bars down little laneways, and a lot of them are tourist traps, but they have the right vibe, and I know people enjoy them a lot. There's like the puppet bar is one of them, and there's another one, à la Bicos, and there's another one. Oh, there's so many, but there's all of these.
I have no idea. You need to tell me where this is. I want to go now.
Yeah, they're all these little weird little bars down laneways, and it's especially when someone comes over around Christmas. They're all cozy and warm and nice, and it's my favorite little tour to take people on.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tom, for the tips and for joining the middle ground. It has been a truly interesting discussion. And even though I know you for many years, I feel like I discovered you again in a different way. I
hope for the better.
For the better, for sure. I wish you the best of luck, and I want to thank also to the viewers and listeners. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Your support is very, very important to make these long evenings worth it. Thank you very much, and have a lovely evening. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Bye bye. Oh my God!
Right.
Thank
Nice.
you. Thank you.